Antonio Parlade Jr. says he decided to run for president after some senators moved to defund the anti-communist task force.
I cannot align with Senator Bongo. I'm sorry, pati kasama siya sa problema ng bayan natin. I just don't like the way he does things, including controlling the decisions of the president.
President Duterte will run for senator in the 2022 national elections. Duterte will be running under the Federalismo ng Dugong Dakilang Samahan or PDDS.
If you know President Duterte, this is not a surprise. The surprise actually is the actual announcement. But if you look at the way that things have done topsy-turvy during the past few days, that's to be expected.
The deadline for political parties to replace or substitute their candidates has passed, but not without some final turn of events. But how will the campaign look like in the next few days? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay. With us online, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and Ed Lingao of One News, who's here with me in the studio in Mandaluyong. Wala pa pala yata si Ami. Habol yata siya mamaya. But, Lucy, kamusta?
Pareho tayo ng headlines, di ba?
No.
Last day of substituting and withdrawing. That's the action today.
Pero parang mas masaya nung Sabado, di ba? Yung rumble nung Sabado ay mas makulay kaysa sa yung rumble ngayong araw eh.
Siyempre naman. Napagod niya ang media nung araw na yun eh.
Kasi last week, hindi natin alam lahat ng sagot eh. Ngayon parang...
parang hindi ko pa nalam.
Pero there are some interesting things that happened also. Actually, ang sa akin, ipasok na natin. Diretso na tayo sa mga expert sa mga galawang ganito. Let's begin tonight with Lito Banayo. Pwede na ba kayong tawagin campaign manager? Dati ayaw nyo magpatawag na campaign manager. Head of the campaign team. Head of the campaign team of Manila City Mayor ISKO Moreno, who is running for president, as you all know. Good evening, Mr. Banayo.
Good evening, Robbie.
Good evening,
sir.
Hail to the Chiefs.
Sige, so kaysa mag-banter kami dito, ididiretso na namin sa inyo. You are a respected, recognized, notorious, depending on who's saying it. But everybody knows you're a political mind, you're a political strategist. If you don't mind, I don't want to start with your candidate. Your thoughts on everything that transpired from Friday to today?
Nalilito rin, pareho ninyo. Can't seem to grasp what's happening, no? Noong Sabado, akala natin tatakbo si Presidente na Vice Presidente ni Bongo. Pero ngayon, senador na. No? So, I really don't know what's happening. No? Hindi naman ako insider sa palasyo. So, I really don't know what triggered all of these.
But for the longest time, we were all going along and what everybody was saying, scripted naman lahat yan eh. Parang kalkulado na lahat ng ano. But then in the past few days, people got the sense na, ano pa to, parang walang Viber group, parang ang gulo. Which sa kayo kumikiling? Was it all calculated until the final movements, or mas kikiling kayo sa hindi, parang may gulo talaga eh?
Or was it damage control or orchestrated?
Mukhang hindi orchestrated eh. No, dun sa interviews ni Presidente, mukhang talagang hindi niya nagustuhan na si Mayor Inday Sara ay pumayag na mag-vice presidente lamang. No? Ibig sabihin, tama rin naman siya. Mas mataas siya sa survey bago mag-October 15. Bakit siya papayag na mag-vice presidente? So, yun ang... I can understand where the president is coming from. No?
What does that make of the, let's just say the chances of Yorme, for example? I mean, does that, does the new lineup of contestants affect you adversely, or is it going to work for you?
Well, this is a marathon, no? So you really don't know how at this point in time, no? Pero remember, before Inday Sara did not file her certificate of candidacy on October 15, it seemed very clear that she, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Isko Moreno, Ping Lacson, Leni Robredo, sino pa ba?
Pacquiao. Manny
And
Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao, were really in the running, di ba? Before
Yes.
October 15, before the deadline of October 15,
Yes.
mukhang tuloy si Mayor Inday Sara. Nagbago lamang nung October 15, hindi siya nag-file. So everyone was waiting suspensefully for the November 15 substitution deadline. And then all of a sudden, hindi na siya presidential candidate, kundi vice presidential candidate na. At hindi na pwedeng palitan. Hindi na pwedeng magbago ulit ng isip ang mga
Right.
kandidato ngayon, no? So cast in stone yan. You have basically 6 major candidates. And of course, kanina, kasama pa si Leody de Guzman, 7. And then kanina, biglang si General
Parlade.
Parlade.
pumasok sa eksena. So 8, no? So,
And si Bongo naging presidente din, no?
Oo.
Kasi VP lang siya
yeah,
noon.
si Bong,
Yeah.
no? Si Senator Bong. Oh. So, ano yan, labo-labo, we'll see the shape of things by mga ano pa yan, February, makikita mo na kung sino yung, by February, no, makikita mo na kung sino yung single digit pa rin. Pag single digit pa rin ng February, medyo mahirap-hirap.
Pero sir, let me ask you not as ISKO's campaign manager, pero as a campaign strategist in general. Kumbaga, take a step back and look at it from the campaign strategy point of view. Sara Duterte was hitting very, very good numbers, and yet she agreed to go for vice. Does that make sense to you? And what could have triggered that? What are the elements that could have triggered that? Again, from a campaign strategist point of view.
Well, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, no? Especially since her father is president of the Philippines. Kung basta meron kang advantage na the incumbent is your father, no? So that really doesn't make sense. But then again, we don't know kasi nga una pinustura si Senator Bongo na pang vice presidente, and the scuttlebutt is hindi sila magkasundo ni Senator Bongo. Kaya baka yun ang dahilan kung bakit siya tumakbong vice president. And all of a sudden, binaliktad naman ni Presidente Duterte at si Bong ang pinatakbong presidente. So is it calculated? I don't really think so, no? Dahil mukhang yung pinakita ni Presidente na demeanor afterwards, no, after learning that she was running for vice president, mukhang totoong may sama siya ng loob.
You mean she could have just decided to run for vice because Bongo was running for vice as well? At least at that time?
Or merong mga nag-pull ng strings na nalito siya in the process, no?
Yeah,
that is a possibility.
Yeah, speaking of pulling strings, what do you make of the role of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo over the past 3 days?
Well, ang balita ko, she was trying to broker a marriage, a political marriage between Bongbong and Inday Sara, no? And whether she was trying to broker it the way she wanted it, which was possibly Sara and Bongbong, no? And nabaliktad, I really do not know at this point in time kung pati siya nagkamali ng diskarte.
Yeah, I've seen some speculations and some theories on that side, but towards that direction. Pero what I couldn't make sense of in that particular hypothesis is kung totoong there was another arrangement, another permutation, and there's only one other permutation between a Marcos Duterte tandem, at hindi natuloy, why would Sara continue to play along kung hindi nasunod yung original na usapan?
We have to understand that while Mayor Inday Sara has been in politics for a long time, she has been basically a local politician. She may not necessarily know how wily the puppeteers in this political puppeteers in this country can be, no? And in the case of Ferdinand Marcos Jr., when he saw that his numbers zoomed after removing the name of Sara in the equation, no? Miski naman ako yung nasa kanyang lugar, bakit naman ako bibigay pa? Bakit pa naman ako magi-slide down to Vice
Yeah.
President? So nagkaroon ng test of wills, mukhang nag-blink yung isa.
Yeah.
But didn't she know this before she jumped into it? And I mean, and you cannot call her naman a neophyte when it comes to politics. I mean, let's remember that she was the one who spearheaded the Grand Slam of Hukong in 2019. I mean, we know her to, well, at least people surmise that she was behind that term sharing between Cayetano and Velasco. You know, meron siyang mga kinakampihan. In other words, she knows how to play that game. So it's a surprise now that she seems to have been the one to borrow some analysts' words, no? To have been thrown under the bus, parang ganun daw. Do you think that that's an accurate description of what happened to her here na siya yung nawalan bigla ng paglalagyan?
Well, mahirap define kung ano talaga nangyari, no? Because we really do not know what, you know. For one thing, mukhang inamin naman ni Presidente Duterte na hindi sila nag-uusap ng kanyang anak, no? Na si Mayor Inday Sara about politics, no? So, posibleng hindi niya na-guide si Mayor Inday Sara dun sa, yun nga, yung mga surprises dito na pinupull ng iba't ibang mga players, no? So, pwedeng gano'n na nangyari.
Yeah, Mr. Banayo, President Duterte has also filed for senator. You'd have to presume the malakas ang chances niya doon. But outside of himself, Bongo is not figuring at all. He may even be dismissed as not really a major player in the presidency. Sara Duterte will run up against Tito Soto, who is now running at 44% in the surveys. And so he's the leading and favorite candidate at this point. And then Davao is now the one running for mayor is Baste. And as Earl Pareño has kept saying here, they stand a really big chance that they could actually lose Davao. How much is at stake and how much did the Dutertes put at risk given how all the chips fell today?
Well, I don't really think Davao will go to the opponent of Baste, no. No matter how newbie we might call Baste, I think the political machinery of the Dutertes is quite strong and quite intact in Davao, no. So palagay ko hindi in danger yung yung Davao, no. But really to leave Davao for the vice presidency, to me is a puzzle. In the same way that when people were saying na baka dapat si ISKO mag-vice president, to me it would have been absolutely stupid, so to speak, for ISKO, who's mayor of the city of Manila, to risk, for the vice presidency. It's the presidency or mayorship, no, ng Manila, no.
Okay.
So,
magaling talaga si Lito Banayo. Dadating tayo kay ISKO Moreno ngayon sa magandang segue. But before that, sir, ito na po si Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
Ami.
Hi, Mr. Banayo. Ako na yung magse-segue sa manok ninyo, Mr. Banayo. Magulo yung administrasyon eh. We're waiting for President Duterte to speak tonight kung sasabihin daw kung bakit hindi niya masuportahan si Bongbong Marcos na informal tandem ng kanyang anak, ano? Anong epekto nito sa inyong kandidato? Si Mayor Isko Moreno is going around now. At
yes, galing lang kami sa Oriental Mindoro. We hit Calapan and then Nauhan, then Socorro, and then finally Pinamalayan, no? In between 9 in the morning till about almost 5 in the afternoon. Kababalik lang namin, no? And he's been doing this regularly, no? We've hit already, I think, mas marami kaming napuntahang bayan at lungsod kaysa sa ibang mga kandidato thus far, no? So, nung tumakbo si ISKO, nung nagdesisyon tumakbo, and he declared it in September 22, no? Ano na 'yon? Tuloy-tuloy, walang pakialam kung sino kalaban. No? It's like that. Pag yung pag-choose niya o pagpili niya kay Doc Willie Ong, wala rin siyang pakialam kung sino makakalaban ni Doc Willie Ong, no? Because ang gusto niya statement is we're in a pandemic. Si Doc Willie makakatulong ko to solve the health problems. Ako naman, I can focus on the livelihood problems, no, social problems. At yun, ganun ang ano. We're running on a platform, we're running on issues, and we're moving around the country to get people to listen to him. At the same time, mapakinggan niya rin because city bred yan eh. He's been always in Manila, no? So gusto rin naman niya malaman kung ano mga problema sa mga lalawigan, sa countryside, so that we can feel the pulse of the people.
Pero siyempre, ina-assess nyo rin yung epekto niyang nagkakagulo yung administration. Dahil frontrunner in the past si Sara Duterte. Paano, sa tingin nyo, kapag ganyang nag-i-split yung votes between Bongo and Bongbong Marcos, and partly may constituency din si Manny Pacquiao na pro-administration, anong impact nyon sa kandidato ninyo?
Actually, from my viewpoint, no, this is not necessarily Mayor Isko's viewpoint. From my viewpoint, it's good na nagkakagulo. Siyempre, habang nagkakagulo, basta focused kami sa aming ginagawa, no, at meron kaming strategy, meron kaming issues na pinipresenta sa tao, in the same way na, if you remember, no, I was with the Duterte campaign in 2015 going to 2016, no? Nung early part of 2016, noong January, we were number 4, no? We were, I think 10 or 9 at that point in time, January, 9 or 10. Pero unti-unti umangat kami ng umangat, no? Hanggang sa, he won with 39% of the vote, no? So, it's a long way. It's a long way to go, no? If you know what you're doing, no? And if you have a candidate who can communicate very well, and I think most of you will agree na ISKO communicates pretty well, especially to the common folks. I think I'm pretty confident na at the end of the day, he will be the next president of the Philippines.
Sir,
Do you think the disqualification case against Bongbong, will it prosper, or is that helping your campaign in any way? I mean, does it have a positive effect on you or a negative one? Because he could be viewed as an underdog as a result of, yung kanyang mga, anong tawag nila Bongbong dyan? Parang desperate attempts or whatever.
Well, syempre, on my part, no, I would be lying if I were to say na hindi man lang namin pinapag-aralan sa mga abogado yung supposed disqualification case, or it's not really a disqualification case, but parang a cancellation of
the COC.
Yeah.
Pinapag-aralan sa mga abogado, and we get also conflicting opinions, no? Meron mga nagsasabi na may grounds, meron naman mga nagsasabi na even if there may be some grounds, no, at the end of the day, baka i-consider na political issue, and therefore, bayaan mo na lang, no, and let the people decide, no. But then again, you have to figure in gaano ba kagalit ang administrasyon kay Ferdinand Marcos Jr., no? Batay dun sa pananalita ni Presidente Duterte kahapon ba yon o
kahapon tsaka kanina.
Yes, kahapon.
Kanina pa yun.
Mukhang galit. Now, let us be, alam naman natin, ang COMELEC right now, I think halos lahat, pag hindi tiga Davao, Lex Talionis. Except for Bing Guanzon. But Bing Guanzon is also retiring in February.
Two commissioners retiring in February.
And Tony Ko. No? So, yun. In COMELEC, kung ba sa well, of course, they're supposed to be independent commissioners, but we really do not know how they will act on this. And then you have the Supreme Court. Whatever happens, syempre, aakyat sa Supreme Court yan. Again, a case may be said about the Supreme Court now being preponderantly Duterte appointees. No, I think 12 of them are now Duterte appointees. But then again, once you're in the Supreme Court, you're not necessarily beholden to the palace, or not supposed to be beholden to the palace. No, so I really do not know how to read President Duterte's anger or angst vis-a-vis the possibility of his influencing either the court or COMELEC.
Pero sir, in the end, yes, the president avoided a direct confrontation with his daughter by not running for vice, but he still is fighting a proxy war kasi his longtime aide, Bongo, is still running against the tandem of Bongbong
Marcos.
and Sara. So in effect, I suppose, by proxy, nakataya pa rin ng Pangulo laban sa kanyang anak.
Well, pwede mo ring sabihin na kung halimbawang ma-disqualify si Senator Bongbong, assuming na ma-disqualify, no? Then you have a Bongo for president and a Sara Duterte for vice president, no? Whether people will vote that way, no? And therefore have a president and a vice president both coming from the president's camp and both coming from Davao, that is very iffy at this point in time.
Mr. Banayo, I want to ask you about the latest SWS survey. This one was, I think, a commissioned survey by Stratbase. And I have to say, I found myself nodding when you said, alam nyo naman, si ISKO is the best communicator. I actually agree at this point. Really fantastic communicator. He distills even economic concepts to something that a lot of people can relate with. But there are two other narratives to his candidacy. One, early on, portraying himself as, nandito ako sa gitna. Hindi ako pula, hindi ako dilaw, moreno ako, and babaybayin ko tong gitna. The other was creating this momentum and this perception that si ISKO winnable. And the other side of that was earlier on, people questioning if Leni was winnable. But on that last aspect, this latest survey shows very clearly a surge for Leni. And it really looks like, at this moment, it's Leni that has the momentum to be a winnable and a viable candidate. In the meantime, if you just look at the numbers, si ISKO ang parang nag-stagnate doon sa position na yon. How do you read this? And if that trend continues, that may momentum si Leni Robredo, how does that affect the options and the strategies of your campaign?
Well, first of all, Robbie, I don't see a momentum. I see a bubble. No? I see a sudden surge kasi nga biglang pumasok sa eksena, no? Yung maraming mga supporters supposedly na nag-painted the town pink and all that. So meron biglang ano yun. No? But I don't think that can be sustained. No? I do not believe it can be sustained, and I think it will peter down, no, in the next few months or even in the next survey. No? We did run a survey of our own, no? At about the same period. Umabot lang kami ng November 3, I think. So yung amin, mas mahaba yung period. We started October 22 and ended November 3. So medyo face-to-face survey. And the numbers are more or less similar except even-steven si Leni at saka si ISKO. Even, exactly the same numbers. No? But admittedly, there was a surge for Bongbong or for Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, kung tatakbo kung madi-DQ si Bongbong Marcos, you think siyempre may resentment yung mga tao niyan against the COMELEC and tangentially against the administration. Siyempre, nandun yung suspicion na yun. Ano? Where do you think the votes for him will go?
I don't think it will go to Leni, will it? Do you think it will go to Leni?
Siguro hindi kay Lenin, pero kay Pacquiao kaya, kay Mayor Isko kaya?
Ayoko magbuhat ng bangko no, at this point in time. No? I don't want to But I think if you really look at the trends, mas malamang naman siguro kay ISKO. kaysa kay Pacquiao. No? Mas malamang siguro. In our survey, and I think also in the SWS survey, Pacquiao is on the single digit na ngayon, di ba?
Si Ping Lacson, medyo strong
Single
out.
digit din eh. Single digit din si Ping, di ba? So,
Sa Vice President, sa tingin niya may tinag si Tito Soto kay Sara? Mahahabol ba yon? Or do you see Senator Soto as the front runner in the vice presidential race for a substantial period of this campaign?
well, medyo malakas talaga si Tito Soto, no, at this point in time, but clearly Sara will get Mindanao. And Mindanao, if it's 23% of the vote, expect, lalo na Vice President lang ang takbo, expect Sara to get 70% of that. So that's already, may puhunan ka na 14 to 15 points. Eh syempre kukuha pa yan sa Visayas, no? So mahu-whittle down din yung lead ni Tito Soto because he is also doing very well in the Visayas, no? Nung tinanggal si Sara. So I think maglalaban-laban. And don't discount Willie Ong, no? Because dun sa aming survey, si Willie is already double digit at this point in time, no? Much higher than the other vice presidential candidates other than Tito, and higher than Bongo nung nakalagay si Bongo sa vice presidency. Almost pantay, halos pantay. So don't discount the guy, don't discount Doc Willie, no?
What about your senatorial slate? I mean, how many of your candidates will actually help translate votes to Yorme? It seems right now that it's more like Yorme giving them votes rather than they giving Yorme votes. So, how do you expect to actually use the senatorial slate?
Over the years,
Your camp,
Lucci,
to help Yorme.
over the years, Lucci, go through several senatorial candidacies na kasabay ng presidential candidacy, no? I mean, puwera yung midterm, yung presidential, na meron senatorial candidates. Senatorial candidates do not give votes to their presidential candidate. Wala.
So walang ganong
Lalo na puro superstars yan eh. Chis Escudero, Alan Peter, puro superstars, no? Loren Legarda. Kita mo nga hindi halos nag-effort yung mga yan eh, no? Kasi parang household names na sila, their brand is very strong. So they don't really care. And that is the reason why kami hindi baling tatlo ang aming kandidato, because tatlo lang yung ipapakiusap namin, no? Bahala na yung tao doon sa siyam. Bahala na sila doon sa siyam, no? Kasi nga hindi naman talaga nakakadagdag yung mga yan eh, no? They do not deliver to their presidential candidate. Tingnan mo si Grace po nung last 2016. Natulungan ba siya nung kanyang mga senatorial candidates? Hardly. Nung bumababa na yung numbers ni Grace at umaangat na si Duterte, iniwan na siya ng mga senatorial candidates niya. Nung meeting de avance niya, the last day, the Friday before the campaign, before the elections, si Isko Moreno na lang ang katabi niya. Everyone was no longer there, no? Kasi nga, maano lang yan eh, sumasama lang yan sa Agos eh. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Senatorial candidates run on their own steam. Mas mabuti na yung at least itong tatlo, talagang ang pinili nilang presidential candidate si Isko. No? Ano lang yan eh, parang prestigious lang pakinggan yung 12, si Ping Lacson nga, 16 yata, 15, pumasok pa si Eliasar, di ba? Paramihan ng senador, walang silbi yan sa presidente. Honestly. Doesn't matter.
Okay, Mr. Banayo, final question na lang po. And we're out of time for this particular segment. But, people were waiting for November 15 because we all assume pagdating ng November 15, alam na natin. Alam na nga ba natin? Or are there still some surprises? Are there other shoes to drop that you would remind people to still watch out for?
Well, under the law, under our election laws, tapos na yan, no? Wala nang palitan. Unless somebody just withdraws and say goodbye, no? Wala nang substitution, tapos na lang, magbi-withdraw na lang, we cannot tell. No? Pero otherwise, ayan na kalaban, ayan na yung competitors, no?
Okay. With that, di itutuloy na po natin tong mga usapan natin next time po. Wag po kayong magsasawa. And we really appreciate your taking all of our questions, even the questions beyond your candidate. Maraming salamat po. Lito Banayo, Campaign Manager of ISKO Moreno. Maraming salamat po.
Ingat, sir.
Maraming salamat din sa
Thank
inyo.
you, sir.
Ami, Luchi, Ed, and Robbie.
Please
Thank
stay
you.
with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Welcome back to Chiefs here on One News, and now joining us is former NTF-ELCAC spokesperson, retired Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade. General Parlade, magandang gabi and welcome back to the Chiefs.
Good evening po.
Good evening, General.
Sir.
Hi, good evening. Good evening to all. Ami, Ted, and
Robbie,
Robbie,
yes, sir.
and Ami.
Yeah, and Luchi, sir. Yes, sir. So, thank you for
and
joining us,
Luchi,
sir. Sir, I suppose it's safe to say na maraming nagulat that you filed for president, CLC for president, kasi I was hearing kasi before that you might file for the Senate but not for the presidency. So that was one surprise. The other surprise, yung nilaglag yung bomba kanina. Gusto na...
Bongga. Oo nga, hindi bomba.
yung bomba ninyo na medyo gusto pa namin sanang busisin ng konti. Kasi sir, medyo bitin naman kayo ng konti, di ba? Now we understand, sabi ninyo, there are a lot of people in the military, the generals, who do not like the way that Senator Bongo is controlling decisions of the president, and he is one of the problems that you see, you and the other generals see in the administration. When you say, sir, controlling decisions, are you referring to policy, referring to access to the president, referring to contracts in government, referring to promotions in the military? Which ones of these, sir, or all of these?
Let me just talk about any other topic.
So naman, kayo naglaglag ng bomba.
Because honestly, Senator Bongo called me, and yeah, we discussed about a lot of things. So I told him about some of the problems we're having in the armed forces, and of course he said, "Yeah, but we're trying to be as professional as possible. We're trying to, of course, we're respecting the decisions of the president and sabi niya, the Secretary of National Defense. So in essence, what he's saying is that wala namang problema masyado, and he's very very supportive of the armed forces, the Philippines. Nakita naman namin yon, but." Yeah, there's also some truth also to what I said, and sabi niya, sige, ganito na lang. Anyway, we heard your statement about your support to the president, and really, sabi ko, sir, my running is part of my decision is really to make sure that the institution is protected, even beyond the term of the incumbent president. Ito na yung election eh. Huwag na nating sirain yung institution. Kasi eto nga, may ibang paraan para magpalit tayo ng gobyerno, ng presidente. Ayun, election yun. Well, alam naman natin na talagang they've been trying to really bring down yung mga House Duterte na yan in the past. Kaya lang, all of them failed. So sabi ko, in fairness to the President, he has done a lot for the armed forces, for the nation. We owe this to him. We have to support him. And of course, hindi naman yan perfectong presidente. But yung vindictiveness natin sa presidente, palaging nandyan, pag-upo niya, pagbaba niya, talagang titirahan namin kita. Walang katapusan itong gulo-gulo natin, especially in the political arena. So, hindi tayo makatake off. We discuss a lot of things. And then, in the end, we all agreed that, ako, personally, I really admire our president. Talagang if not for him, alam nyo, if not for him, siguro wala masyado na-accomplish yung National Task Force ELCAC. Or maybe hindi nagkaroon ng Executive Order 70.
General, hindi naman yan ang ini-question namin sa inyo. No? Ang gusto namin, alam namin na loyal kayo kay President Duterte. Ang gusto namin malaman ay yung statement niyo na you just don't like the way Bongo does things. Anong ayaw niyo? What exactly are the things that you were referring to?
That you called the problem, that you called the biggest problem in the country, among the biggest problems in the country.
Ito naman sinabing biggest.
Sige pa.
That's an exaggeration. I didn't say that.
Okay.
I have my own personal observations. Okay, and I'll just keep it myself for now. Like I said, I don't want to talk about that. Meantime, we just assured each other that we will try to, correct whatever it is that we need to correct. And really, I respect Senator Bongo also. But sabi ko, sir, you have to also respect my opinion on this. And yeah, sabi niya, hindi naman tayo perfecto. Meron din tayo mga depekto. And it could be that siguro, parehas naman yung intention namin to make sure that the president is able to do his thing. So si Senator Bongo at times parang siya na yung pinapaubayan ng presidente. Oh, this matters involving the armed forces, parang ganyan. So that is my personal observation. I have basis for that, but like I said, okay na yun. Nag-usap na kami. Maybe we can talk about that some other time.
But only because you are both now presidential candidates and people want to know what's the difference between our candidates. Could you give us an example without us characterizing anything anymore? Just give us an example of differences, real differences that you have with Senator Bongo.
Okay, magandang tanong yan. Doon na lang tayo. First of all, Robbie, I'm not a politician, you know? I am not a politician. I'm a soldier. So make no mistake, my love, my patriotism is there. My love for my country is there. Hindi to this is not a ambition na suddenly, akala mo isang gabi na lang nagising ako or isang umaga nagising ako, gusto kong tumakbo. No. Ang nakikita ko kasi ang problema, I think, yung political circus, yung alam mo, minsan nakikita ko, instead na sumulong tayo yung gobyerno, umaasenso. Grabe yung hilaan, hindi magkasundo. And sometimes may mga internal issues na sumasambulat because hindi nag-uusap-usap within the organization itself, within the, I don't want to say household, but what I'm saying is, minsan naapektuhan yung performance ng ating presidente because of this intramurals that's happening around him. Ngayon, naobserbahan ko ito sa loob ng 38 years na kami na nagserbisyo ako, for instance, nagserbisyo sa ating armed forces. Ito na yung nakikita ko sa ating mga leaders. Palagi na lang ganito. Why? Kasi halos mga politiko talaga, self-preservation, political survival, yan palagi iniisip. Minsan, maraming bagay-bagay na mas importante, mas kailangan ng bansa, hindi magawa because of this problem. So sabi ko, maybe ang isang solution dito ay for the people to have some other options. Maybe non-politicians be involved in this political exercise.
General Parlade, I do want to take this moment to apologize because I do stand corrected. You did not say biggest problem. That's my mistake. I apologize for that. But this is what you did say. You said, I cannot align with Senator Bongo. I'm sorry, but isa siya, kasama siya sa mga problema ng bayan natin. What did you mean by that?
Like I said, Robbie, ano na yan, pinag-usapan na namin yan ni Senator Bongo, nagkasundo na kami doon. I have my basis for saying so, and he has a basis for denying. Well, sabi ko nga, nagtapos kami doon. At the end of the day, it's really about making sure that this government is intact to the end para matapos ng ating presidente ang dapat niyang gawin before he steps down. So, ayoko na. I don't want to delve on that. Maybe some other time, I promise you, we're going to talk about that.
Okay,
Okay,
General.
what about the, yeah, go ahead, Ami. Yeah.
Sorry?
Ami,
Na lang strengthening of the institution. Ano ba exactly? What do you mean by that? What needs strengthening in the armed forces? Over
Okay.
the last 6 years, tingin nga namin, lumakas yung armed forces. In fact, ano pa yung kulang at ano yung na-weaken? And
Okay.
needs strengthening.
Okay. I know. The Secretary of National Defense has issued a statement also, but this is. I'm going to give you my personal observation in my last 5 years in the service. You know, talagang ang laki ng inabot ng yung reform sa armed forces natin, yung Army Transformation Roadmap, yung AP Transformation Roadmap, Sail Plan ng Navy, and the Flight Plan of the Philippine Air Force. Talagang naka-take off yun ang gusto. To the point na sa ngayon nga, napakataas ng trust rating ng armed forces. Number 1 sa lahat ng agencies ng gobyerno. So what I'm saying is, the systems are in place, all these reforms are in place, but sometimes nagkakaroon kami ng problema because there are some intervention from the outside. So yun yung nagiging problema, Ami. And I think, hindi lang nagsasalita kasi ang force. Ako, retired na ako. I'll just share to you some of my observations in the last 5 years. Talagang we still need to strengthen many of these systems in the organization. Until such time siguro na talagang totally shielded na kami from political and partisan affairs and external intervention. Of course, alam natin na mayroong Secretary of National Defense na nag-oversee niyan. That's understood. But pagka masyado lang malayo sa chain of command, nakikialam pa doon sa that's not good, that's not healthy for the organization. That's my personal observation. And you can do your interviews and maybe anonymous magsasalita sa inyo ang ibang members ng armed forces.
No, can you be more specific on the reforms you want to introduce? Because we understand this is going to be your platform in running for president, no? Can you be more specific? Ano yung balak niyong introduce na reform?
Yeah, for instance, yung mga procurement na yan, alam mo, minsan, ito na yung decision ng armed forces, suddenly magbabago. Why? Because meron mga intervention from outside, and suddenly, kung dumating because of the intervention, nagkakaproblema yung armed forces. Okay? Ang dami niyan. If you want to cite, maybe I can cite some, but yeah, ito, I'll tell you this, para pagbigyan ko lang kayo, but this is, I think this has something to do with national security. I cannot. But I'm telling you, we've had problems, for instance, communications, service to service, we are having these problems because, again, hindi ma-perfect ng AFP ang sistema. First of all, di ba, may mga procurement committees yan, then may mga research kaming ginagawa, and then ito yung recommendation because this is what we need in order to continue with the previous platform that we've had. Suddenly, may darating ibang platform, tapos hindi magpangita yung kanilang mga communication systems. So those are just some of the examples. Yeah.
okay. Yung bang yung NTF-ELCAC at yung pagbawas sa budget ng NTF-ELCAC, And also how you were, sabihin na natin, there was a clamor to take you out of NTF-ELCAC. Yun ba ay isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit kayo tumatakbo? Isa ba yan sa mga hinaing ninyo na naging trigger ng inyong decision to run for president?
Yeah. Lucy, really, that's one of the major reasons why I decided on the last stretch of this, I decided to run. Kasi, being there in the bureaucracy, you can only speak so much. Limited yung mo. Kasi pag inipit ka na ng mga senador na ito, at inipit yung buong budget ng buong ahensya ng gobyerno, kawawa, nagsasuffer yung organization. And we're just fighting for, this NTF-ELCAC budget na kakapiranggot lang yan. And we're talking about so many barangays that we're supposed to provide services na nakaligtaan na natin for years, and suddenly ito babawiin. Ito talaga, that's one of the reasons why I decided somebody has to go out there and face this, especially the senators, especially with Vice President Lenny na halos gusto niya nang buwagin ang National Task Force. I understand, of course, we all know that the task force is an ad hoc body, and when it's able to accomplish its mission, pwede na siyang i-disband. But no, itong mga programs na ito, it has to be sustained until sa time na ma-institutionalize itong mga programa na ito doon sa mga laylayan, doon sa malalayang lugar. Pero no, ito si Vice President Lenny, gusto niya talagang i-abolish yung NTF.
General, dahil nabanggit niyo po yan, I did mean to ask. Let's just remind everyone, NTF-ELCAC stands for the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. No? So the anti-communism campaign to, it's a real front to end the communist insurgency. Over the weekend, hindi lang po si Lenny Robredo ang binanata ng Pangulo. Sinabi niya, I cannot support Bongbong Marcos dahil pro-communism yan eh. Marami pong nagulat doon sa sinabi niya na si Bongbong Marcos daw pro-communist. What do you know of this? Ano pong pinaguhugutan o pinagtutungtungan ni President Duterte when he calls Bongbong Marcos pro-communist?
Honestly, I don't know. He's the president. He has access to bigger intelligence. The whole caboodle of this intelligence community he has access to. So lahat ng informasyon, pwede niyang itanong. Ako, limited lang yung alam ko on this. But honestly, ako talaga nagulat din. But I'm sure may basis ang ating presidente for saying that. But I cannot, for now, mahirap naman mag-judge na wala naman tayong basis.
Yes, you mean, sir, the president has more information on the communists than the National Task Force to end the local communist insurgency?
Oh yes, yeah.
Wouldn't that be, wouldn't that be contradictory?
No, why not?
Because the NTF is precisely designed to end the local communist insurgency. If it does not have the information with which to brief the president, advise the president on local communist threats, then the information should be going up, not down.
Like I said, meron naman siyang access sa ibang intelligence organization, and it may not be from the internal intelligence only. So meron namang mga counterparts dyan na pwedeng matap to give him their assessment of what's happening on the ground from the outside. Napakadami niyan. Alam mo yun, even yung mga foreign funding, many of this we don't know, but may access dyan ang presidente kasi madali lang tawagan, madali lang ipa-check dun sa kanyang mga counterpart. So these things, hindi naman to saklaw lahat ng National Task Force ELCAC. Meron kaming cluster on situational awareness and knowledge management. But limited din naman yung yung alam nila on this aspect. So yeah, let's just give the president that prerogative.
Yes, but if you would give him beyond prerogative, if you would give him credence for his assertion that he has basis, then what should government, NTF-ELCAC, the different agencies, the Anti-Terror Council, what should everybody be doing with respect to Bongbong Marcos at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm out of the National Security Council. I filed my resignation yesterday, and probably that's what they're discussing now. Can we have some more details on this, on what the president mentioned the other day, or So I really don't know.
Okay.
I think it's just it's just appropriate that you call National Security Advisor or the NTF-ELCAC SACAM. We call it the SACAM cluster. It's where the intelligence community and the NICA and all the other intelligence bodies are clustered in. So I'm sorry. Sabi ko nga, nag-resign ako sa NSC, so hindi ko na alam kung anong action nila ngayon.
Yes, sir. Well, sir,
General, you're running for president. Hindi ba, if you're going to push your advocacies, di ba mas madali kung tumakbo kayong Senate and just support someone? Wala ba kayo nakikita dun sa field of presidential aspirants na who are on the same wavelength as you in terms
King Lacson, di ba?
yun,
Pareho
Kayo
kayo.
naman,
Yeah.
si
Ang
ISKO,
Luigi naman, hindi naman ako tulad ni Sir Ping Lacson. I admire Senator Lacson, pero in many ways, magkaiba yung aming pananaw sa mga bagay-bagay. Yeah.
Paano magkaiba? Kasi
Ano yan?
pareho kayong sundalo. I mean, sabihin na natin yun, di ba? PNA, pareho kayo eh.
I think police yung pinanggagalingan niya dati sa PNP. And I think you've seen the Senate inquiry, yung sa red tagging. Kita mo, dami naming pinresent, and yet at the end of the day, ang decision niya, tanggalin ako. While Senator Soto is saying, meron palang value yung sinasabi ni General PARLADE kasi ito yung mga sinasabi ng mga kadre. And yet, ang decision ng committee niya, squad. Di ba? Yung red tagging pa nga, ang gusto nilang maging bill, magkaroon ng resolution on this red tagging. Make it...
Pero pinupush niya yung Anti-Terror Council. Di ba, nagkakasundo kayo ron?
Exactly. That's my problem. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit yon. Ang anti-terror law, pinush niya yon, siya nag-sponsor noon, talagang tinulungan namin, magkakasama kami doon, nagkakaisa kami doon. Suddenly, ganun yung position niya on these individuals, personalities, and organizations which are clearly members of this Communist Party.
Ay,
So,
General,
ano yun? Politiko kasi siya. Kami, sundalo kami. Ako, like I said, hindi ako politiko. Ako, sundalo ako. So, hindi naman boto ang habol ko. Siya, medyo nagaganyan siya kasi, boto.
General, dahil nabanggit niyo po yung red tagging, and I want to be transparent here. I don't want people to think that my questions were just snide. I mean, to be transparent about it, of course, I was asking about the President's assertions or accusations that Bongbong Marcos is pro-communist. And then I was asking for ano yung basis nun? Because precisely, ironically, without any proof or evidence or any basis, isn't the President in effect red tagging Bongbong Marcos? And then isn't that precisely the whole point of why people are concerned about quote-unquote red tagging, as you put it, precisely because it's so easy for leaders, national leaders, military leaders, NTF-ELCAC to say na, ayan, communist yan, but we won't give any evidence. That's what President Duterte is doing with Bongbong Marcos, hindi po ba?
No, what the President did is his prerogative as President. Like I said, hindi ko alam ang basis niya. What we say are communists, we have basis and I can present proof. Sino gusto mong pangalanan na komunista, sinabi namin komunista? And I'm telling you, di ba, ang dami na namin pinala ng kaso. And as of now, ang dami pang mga lumalabas na mga former cadres na talagang tinuturo si ganito, si ganyan. Kasama namin yan, sir. So we have all the evidence, we have all the pieces of evidence against these individuals that we're saying are part of the Communist Party. Okay, so again, you want to compare my assessment of individuals with that of the presidents? No, it's hard to compare because I have my basis, we have our basis sa NTF-ELCAC, and the president has his own basis for this. Okay?
Apa. Unfortunately, we're out of time. General Parlade. Parati tayo naubusan ng oras pagka maganda na yung usapan natin. But natutuwa naman po kami. Parati nyo kami pinauunlakan, parati nyo tinatanggap ang imbitasyon namin, and we're sure we will continue to invite you po. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Salamat, sir.
That was retired General Antonio Parlade, formerly of the NTF-ELCAC, now running for president. And that's all for this edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Mami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez, News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.